Welcome to the Walnut Hill Farm. Martin and Ellen Flynn constructed the Flynn Mansion on this site in 1870. The neighboring barn was built in 1871. Both structures are now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Martin Flynn emigrated from Ireland as a boy in the early 1850s. While still a young man, he earned a substantial fortune in railroad construction. Mr. Flynn hired construction crews and then contracted with railroad companies to move dirt and grade the railway bed for track laying. His company worked on many railroad projects in Iowa, including the Des Moines Valley Railroad, but also in other states as far away as Kentucky and New Mexico. Mr. Flynn established Walnut Hill Farm as a second family business, breeding Shorthorn cattle and Berkshire hogs. He later diversified his business interests to include banking, real estate, brickmaking, and sheep ranching. As his wealth grew, Mr. Flynn built a second house and a large business building in downtown Des Moines. While working on railroads in Nebraska, Martin met Ellen Keene, also an Irish immigrant, and the two married in 1865. Martin and Ellen had 10 children over the next 17 years, 5 boys and 5 girls. Many of these children worked in the family businesses into the 20th century. Martin Flynn died in 1906, and the family sold Walnut Hill Farm to the state of Iowa in 1915. The house passed back into private hands in 1957 and was given to Living History Farms Foundation in 1970. Martin and Ellen Flynn originally purchased 600 acres of land outside Des Moines, establishing the Walnut Hill Farm in 1867. The Flynn farm grew to include over 1,500 acres of land and a renowned herd of purebred Shorthorn cattle. Using money from this railroad work, Martin ordered construction of a spacious home for his family here. Brick masons lived on the property during construction, making the soft red bricks from native clay. Built in the popular Italianate style, the architecture was meant to remind guests of Italian villas and castles. The home's Italianate styling includes arched windows with heavy stone cornices, carved corbels under the eaves, and the decorative rooftop cupola. In 1870, the house cost nearly $20,000 to complete. This 15-room mansion became the showpiece of the farm. Even though it was a farmhouse, no expense was spared on the home's amenities. From the time of its construction, the house boasted gas lighting, running water, and a central furnace system. Interior furnishings included marble mantels, stained glass, fine wallpapers, and wood trim. The large barn was just as much a showpiece for Walnut Hill Farm as the house itself. This structure was built at a cost of $7,000 in 1871. A native brick foundation supported the heavy timber-framed construction above. Built in a progressive style for the times, the lower levels housed livestock with space on the main floor for grain and feed. The barn basement provided stalls for 30 head of cattle. Chutes cut into the main floor allowed farmhands to pitch hay and grain down to the feed bunks in the lower level. Foul air tubes coming out of the stall level allowed for ventilation for the livestock. The main floor of the barn contained storage for an enormous amount of grain and machinery. According to an 1871 article, the barn's 2 corn cribs could store several thousand bushels of corn. Behind these cribs, hay mows provided space for 150 tons of hay, and dual granaries could hold an estimated 3,000 bushels of oats. Space remained beyond this grain storage for horse-drawn wagons and farm machinery. The Flynn barn currently is used for Living History Farm's education and event programming and is available to rent for receptions, parties, and dinner events. Thank you for visiting the Flynn Mansion and Walnut Hill Farm barn. Have a great day at Living History Farms.